Hello everyone and welcome back to Shanahan Militaria. So in today's video what we're covering, it's a mannequin on parade, slightly later than I had hoped, but we're getting to it now. It is a member of the Australian SAS or the SASR regiment at the time of Vietnam. Now, as we like to do a bit of history about the mannequins on parade, so the SASR came into being as it's known now in 1957, I believe. There had been special forces units in the Australian Army prior to that, in Korea, in the Pacific Theatre, especially where they fought most of the Second World War, and a small bit of North Africa, where they had members in the SAS, the British SAS and the Long Range Desert Group and stuff like that. But as we're talking here now about these guys in Vietnam, they had come off of operations in Borneo and Malaya. So they were very, very experienced in relation to counter-terrorism operations or counter-insurgency wars compared to the Americans. And that goes in the statistics of the Australians in Vietnam. They served in Vietnam from 1966 to 1971, 72, I believe. The numbers for the regiment said that there was 560 soldiers had served in that period of time in Vietnam. Now that could have been soldiers doing a multitude of tours, especially with special forces guys doing 1, 2, 3 and 3 tours. It's not uncommon. Their casualty rate for that period of time is quite astounding when you think of the operations that they carried out. They carried out over 1,200 combat missions in that period. They're recorded as killing or wounding up to at least 2,000 enemy fighters, or NVA or Viet Cong at the time, with 11 captures, 11 prisoners taken. And in relation to their own casualties, they had 3 that died from an accident, 1 died of illness, 1 died of wounds back in Australia, and 1 was killed outright in action. And they had 1 missing in action who was recovered in 2008. He had actually fallen. They were doing a rope extraction and the rope snapped and he actually fell into the jungle and was classified as missing in action, and his body thankfully was recovered in 2008. So in relation to those statistics compared to the Americans, it stands for itself. Unfortunately, they lost members. Compared to the Americans for that period of time, same time frame, same special forces units, it's chalk and cheese. The Australians were actually given to the American Army to train at their LRP, their long range patrol base for the Rangers, their MACV SOG, which was a very, very specialised unit. So Australian instructors were sent there to train these guys. So they did, like, their fighting of the war in Vietnam, the Australian, it's very interesting. Their fighting of the war compared to the Americans was completely different. If you look into where they were based, in a place called Nui Dat, if you look into the area around Nui Dat and look into the history and why they took it over and their operations in that area, if you ask me if the Australians had more men there and if they had been let fight the war that they wanted to fight, it could have been a completely different war. Their job was, the Australian SAS, their job was long range patrols, reconnaissance patrols, snatch and grabs, ambushes, things like that. Your typical special forces type missions. So we're just going to cover the mannequin. His actual uniform is what they call ERDL. Now, forgive me, I can't remember what ERDL stands for. It's basically the predecessor to the American woodland camouflage. And if you actually look at this compared to woodland, the colours bleed into each other and they fade into each other, whereas with woodland it's more defined. Now with the ERDL, excuse me, with the ERDL, there's 2 different variants. You have brown dominant, which this one is. If you look at it, it's very dark, and you have green dominant. And green dominant, it's obviously it's greener. From the photo research that I can see from the Australians of the SAS, they preferred the ERDL compared to the Americans, where you see a lot of Americans wearing tiger stripe and things like that. The Australians prefer the ERDL. Now you do see Australians in tiger stripe as well, but not as much as the ERDL. And they seem to prefer the brown dominant variant compared to the green dominant variant. So we're just going to cover him from head to toe. So we've covered his uniform. Now he's just wearing a regular Australian ghillie hat of the time frame. Now everything actually on him is original, except for the uniform or the top and pants. They're reproduction, but everything else is original, from his webbing to his boots to his hat to all the pouches and everything like that. So this is the hat of the regular Australian Army. They call it a ghillie hat, or a giggle hat, sorry. Just a green hat. You do see them wearing sweatbands, bandanas, berets even, camouflage berets in ERDL, and you see them wearing their regular green giggle hats. Now he's wearing the American variant of the M56 pattern, and I will explain why shortly. But here on his chest he has 2 bandoliers of ammunition, 20 round magazines. Now how you can tell a Australian or an American, pardon me, a Vietnam variant is, it has 7 compartments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The later ones have 5, whereas these ones have 7, and they're normally dated. That one is 74. I don't know if there's a date on that one. There should be. That one is 72, November 72. So you can, that's the bandolier, shall we say. So his webbing is the American variant of the M56. The reason that it's the American variant is because I don't actually have the Australian M16 pouches, so, and I had this put together for a previous video, so I just left it as it is. So you have 2 ammo pouches on the back. Here, now these are movie prop grenades. That's how the grenades were actually fitted to these. There was a safety strap that went around the grenade, through the pin, and then it clipped on the other side. So he's carrying 2 frag grenades, or 2 fragmentation grenades. How he would have been armed is, this was the standard rifle, it's the SLR of the Australian Army at the time. You would see them carrying this with a 30 round magazine. This is a 20 round magazine, 30 round magazine is slightly longer. You do see them carrying these. They also fitted pistol grips to the front of them, or a foregrip, and you do see them with shorter barrels as well. So that was the SLR that they would carry. They would also carry something like this. This is the XM177 Echo 1. XM177 Echo 1. Or sorry, Echo 2, because it's got the longer flash hider. You'd also see him carrying this, which was just a carbine version of the M16. But in general, you see them carrying the M16. Now I have this one done, as you would see also, with the speed tape or the duct tape camouflage done to it on the foregrip and the stock. You would also see them, whereas they would either tie or tape a field dressing here underneath, or they tape a field dressing on the sling. You do see them also with 2 or 3 grenade launchers underneath and no slings, but this was the most common rifle that you will see the Australian SAS carrying, along with the SLR in Vietnam. So that's why I have his webbing like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn him around and we're going to have a look at the back of the webbing, and we'll just see what's on the back, and we'll cover other items like that. So now we have the mannequin turned around, we can actually look at the back of the uniform. So you have your just your M56 butt pack, 2 canteens. They call it the bum pack, whereas the Americans call it the butt pack. We have a standard issue machete at the time, looped into the eyelets at the side of the butt pack. You do see them doing this. You also see them wearing a flat across their they're either at the bottom or the top of their butt packs. You do see them not wearing the butt packs a lot as well, whereas they'll have more water bottles and stuff like that, and you see them with backpacks. So there are, as I said, this is a representation. There are multiple ways that you would see them carrying it. So we have the 2 water bottles, the butt pack, we have 2 ammo pouches on the front, and on this side then we have the M16 bayonet. There's nothing else pretty much different. Obviously the pants have 2 cargo legs, or 2 cargo pockets on each leg, 2 hip pockets, and I don't think there's any back pockets on these. No, there's no back pockets on them. So that's it. So we're just going to turn him around again. So now we've covered the Mannequin pretty much from head to toe. As I said, the Australians' involvement in Vietnam is very, very interesting. I find it very interesting. I prefer reading about the Australians more than the Americans. Nothing against the Americans, but I just find their history in Vietnam a lot more interesting. So that's pretty much it. We've been covered now from head to toe. We've covered a bit of brief history about him. So if you like what we provide here at Shanahan Militaria, please like the video, please hit the notification button and subscribe if you want to see future content. As always, tell your friends if they're interested in military history or military information. If you would like to get in contact with the channel, the email for the channel will always be at the top of the video description. So you can get in contact with the channel that way if you have a donation for the that you want to see being done in a video and having it returned, or if you would like to donate something for the collection. That's perfectly okay. Or even if you just want information on something that you've seen in a previous video, you're more than welcome to give me an email on that. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you for the next video.